pyramid structure, mid-season tournament below, needed to supporting amateur and grassroots tournaments to keep the chance from no one to hero. So let's talk more about the PMSL. In 2024, we are expanding the PMSL to 4 regions: Southeast Asia, Europe, Middle East, Africa as EMEA, Central and South Asia, and the Americas. All PMPLs, all pro leagues will be merged into one of PMSL. Our partnership program will be expanded as well. Partnership team will have more opportunity to develop the players, grow the exposure to fans and community with the secured PMSL slots for years. After the success of PMSL South Asia 2023, next year, Southeast Asia League will have 3 seasons instead of 2. And all other PMPS will run for 2 seasons, spring and fall. With that, I'm pleased to unveil our new exciting global tournament as PUBG Mobile Global Open, PMGO. This Open New Style tournament will take place in Brazil. In March or April, with a prize pool of $500,000 US. This PMGO will have local qualification by open registration. This means anyone in Brazil has a chance to compete against the very best international pro teams on fantastic offline stage. It will be followed by mid-season tournament in July in Riyadh, and the Pmgc, as you all know, at the end of the year. PMWI will have a new name and a new format to fit mid-season tournament, featuring a $3 million US prize pool. Yeah, the final news today. I'm so excited to announce that the location of PUBG Mobile Global Championship 2024 next year, grand final is the United Kingdom. UK fans, get ready. PUBG Mobile Esports will coming to your doorstep next year. That's all I share today. Thanks to everyone here in Istanbul. And let's begin PMGC 2023 Grand Final for winner. Woo!
Well, you heard it here first. PMGC 2024 from the UK. All these teams obviously loving the opportunity to play there, but they need to get through this event coming their way right now. 16 teams, their most important esports event till this day, and they have to show up, especially teams like right behind us, S2G in front of their home crowd. I'm just Captain, I'm your host, joined by Maxman Several's Gaming, and Max, it is heating up in here, and the pressure, you can see it mounting for some of these teams.
We had a riveting league stage, and we had so many teams that could not qualify, such as Vampire. They didn't qualify, which means the level of competition in this lobby of 16 teams is going to be so high here, Seven. And we called it many times in the league stage. This is the best lobby in the world right now. So it's going to be tough to be the new world champions.
It is, and if I'm STG right now, I'm like, oh, the pressure's going to be so on me. With all these fans looking at you too. you don't want them to turn on you, especially if they start off really slow.
Well, you guys at home, make sure you're checking out TikTok, Pmgc 2023, to see everything happening behind the scenes, everything happening here at the event as well. Honestly, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hear these two with the crowd like this. I'm already struggling as it is.
Look, when they get 16th place, we're like, oh, that was a really good game. It's fine, guys. We're only bringing up the positive, but you've got so many teams that are going to be able to compete, right, for that position. We're talking about regions as a whole. I know you're going to be happy. No, Brazil, it's got 2 teams, so it's going to be looking pretty good, and they're looking like a region that clearly could bring the trophy home at the end of the year.
I was hoping I would see more Brazilian teams because of how many were able to qualify through the league stage. But I'm happy with the ones that actually are here with Alpha 7 and Loops. I think they are very strong. And with Alpha 7, this is going to be their 4th grand final too. They have been improving over and over again. Maybe this is a time where they're going to be able to get that first place.
I'm assuming you said great stuff there, 7. I have no idea what you said.
Good point.
But I heard some Brazil stuff.
Yes.
And I think we're all going to agree
Brazil
Brazil have a very good chance of taking it home this year. Looking the strongest ever, almost having 3-4 teams qualify to the grand finals. Influence Rage falling short, unfortunately. But honestly, there's a lot of tough teams out there. I don't know who you want to start with in particular, Max, because honestly, we could probably spend a good hour discussing all
we
this.
could have an hour pre-show here, Jason, but I don't think we're going to have that much time.
It
But
could happen.
I'm looking at one team in particular here. I could talk about Star Wars. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk about
Well, you shook
FaZe.
their hands right before we started.
Sorry, Star Wars fans. It's done. It's over. No, I'm looking at FaZe in particular. One of the biggest redemption arcs we have ever witnessed in a PMGC League stage. Going from qualifying in the last match of the survival stage and then just completely shredding it during the entirety of the last chance. Mela in particular, Jason, we saw was just such a standout player. So if we see that kind of prowess from FaZe in this tournament, I feel like they have the chance of being top 5 and who knows, maybe also take the trophy.
And what's good for them is they were able to do that within 2 days, right? Whether it was survival stage and then being able to move on from there to last chance in 2 days as well. We have a 3-day tournament. All these teams that are able to usually perform really well within at least 2 to 3 days, they got to take advantage of this first couple of days. One of them that I'm going to be thinking about is going to be Noncham Red Force. I was super surprised of how this team was able to do in Group Red, and I feel like they might end up surprising a lot of people. I don't know if they have what it takes to get that first place, but I think they are definitely going to be in contention there for the top 3.
If you're very silent, you can hear Kalash like, go Noncham Red Force.
Yes.
Yeah, he's still supporting them.
I mean, let's be honest. Out of all the teams participating from South Korea in PMGC this year, we didn't think this would be the team to represent South Korea. I mean, D+, the amount of times they've been here to the finals, the amount of experience they have. Ducksan obviously having be an extremely strong team, but not able to be strong enough to get through our last chance. We can take a look here. What's coming up the next few days of play? Obviously, 6 matches a day across 3 different days. And of course, the map pool will be exactly the same what we had before. But that point system, honestly, I mean, we've had it for like 2-3 years now. This is proving to give some really exciting finals.
Yeah, and you can have teams that can stand out all by getting a consistent amount of placement points every single match, right, 7? Or some teams that I know we got some big names here also that are very focused around those eliminations. Especially, don't give 2 MG3s to IHC, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. Okay, they're going to keep popping up like at the end of last chance. But yeah, this point system, of course, has been proven that you can stand out in many different ways. But if you can have the both amount of points coming your way, of course, 7, you're going to be standing out.
Yeah, and for some of those teams, right, we're going to be looking at the ones that are actually able to put up a lot of elements and being able to back it up with the chicken dinner, because that's always the main thing.
Yes.
If a team can start off really hot on day 1, we have seen those teams being able to kind of carry that and at least give them a chance. If for some reason the performance kind of drops off a little bit too, I'm just going to be looking at consistency. I'm not going to be looking for teams that maybe go after for those chicken dinners, but I'm going to be looking for teams that are going to be consistent within the top 5 and getting those eliminations as well to back it up.
Well, the thing is, obviously, when it comes to placing top 5, one team that's going to stand out to me is going to be Major Pride. Nomi in particular, as we've discussed and seen many times, the off angles he holds, can he be successful in the lobby of this caliber is something that's yet to be answered. But here we go, Maxman, our record holders across the last couple of years, and obviously Vampire, they're going to be holding a lot of titles, but not going to be holding the Pmgc trophy this year.
Yeah, not be able to beat their own records this time around, it seems. They picked up Tony K's like, you're on vacation now for the end of the year.
Hey, but Soup, he could outperform what his team did back at Pmgc with 4 Angry Men.
I would love that.
And the thing is,
he's got the red haircut now, so he's going to have the buff. Yeah, he's got the red hair buff right now.
He was the MVP last time we saw him at the grand finals, and he seems in good spirits. It would be insane if he can actually get an MVP as well.
And I think especially for the PL players, it is very important, 7, to have that international experience, to have played in PMGC before, because we've seen it many times. The meta is drastically different between what you see over in PL and what you see over here in PMGC, especially 7. The DBS is not played that heavily over in China, which means that that transition over to here in PMGC with that kind of weapon that is so relevant in these fights might make it a bit tough.
And that's what it's going to come down. How quick can they adjust, right? How quick can they adjust to how the global teams usually play?
Yeah, and that's why our eyes are going to be on Titan Esports Club, because they have not had this international experience here to the level that WVG's been able to have. But we're going to find out if they can obviously rise up to the ranks here. But as you saw there, the order, big fan. Sandhawk, triple Erangel, double Miramar. I'm loving the back-to-back-to-back battlegrounds instead of switching every single time. It's been proven again to have some really crazy matches.
I mean, we said this many times about the map rotation. If your first Erangel does not go well, you can instantly pivot, change your game plan if it's a drop, if it's your rotation, or your overall like kind of mentality going into those matches. So yeah, I think this is the best map rotation. I hope we have it in PMSL next year because I think it's just been so successful for teams to truly put on full display what they can do in these matches.
And I think that's why kind of I was mentioning Noncham Red Force, because this is the team that's able to adjust so quickly to what the other teams are doing within whether it's within that one match or maybe in the next match. I think there'll be a big surprise. But going into the first match, Sandhawk, I know you don't want to talk about them, but Star Wars Esports, they were really, really good in Sandhawk, and I feel like if they can start off hot here, they can carry on that momentum. The big question mark for me, and I know we were kind of talking about this a little bit earlier, the big question mark for me is going to be top, but you were telling me that it's different now from PMWI.
Nazed has been such a standout player. I think a lot of people at home had doubts about the pickup of IC and Nazed and how that's going to be kind of filling out the vacuum of Pika and Scry leaving the team, right? And I think that those kind of doubts have been answered very significantly in recent regional tournaments or PMWI, that Nazed is a standout player. He can frag out alongside the side of Top and Action both together. So I feel like Star Wars are going to be looking at like favorites. And with their drop, Reject are not in this tournament, which means Trifecta is open. So that is going to be a great opportunity to, from the get-go, if you can play Trifecta, you're going to have very easy Phase 1 into Phase 2 transitions.
Well, we're obviously skipping probably one of the biggest teams that we need to discuss when it comes to PMGC live from Istanbul. Right behind us, S2G. I mean, the amount of pressure that must be on them to perform here and go into that first match, for me, I think if they have a strong start, they're almost going to be unstoppable. Having the fans here as their like 5th player in the background, helping cheer them on, is going to make them such a strong team. But you don't want to go out first match, 16 plays, 0 eliminations.
Yeah, and what I remember especially from last year's PMGC, right, Seven, is that they understand the position in the leaderboards and they are willing to take down threats that are above them. They are not scared to take fights. So they took down LGD last year to qualify into PMGC. They fought against some of the top teams in the last matches to make sure they were going to secure the trophy in the last game. So right now I feel like that kind of adaptability for this tournament, and they might have here, Seven, have the land buff event with your fans right in front of them. They might be popping off. So I agree, if they get a good start, they might just be the threat for the entirety of this year.
And I don't even expect them to be getting a good start. There's a lot of stuff that I want to say about STG, but I don't want to get stuff thrown at me from the STG fans just yet, all right? Well, we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with this team, but there is a lot of question marks. Are they going to be able, because they did get special invite here. They didn't have to go through the league stage. They didn't have to go through that hassle. And if we look at their previous performances, they haven't really been able to perform that well. It's going to come down to the first 3 matches, I feel like, for this team. Even though last year, during the PMGC Grand Finals, they were quite a surprise of a team. I know when we were talking about them, we were like, okay, maybe not quite yet. And then on the last day, we're like, okay, SGG actually has a chance at winning this if they continue to play like that. And they were able to continue to play like that. So it's going to come down to the first 3 matches for this year.
And if we obviously look at experience, right? Obviously, STG have the experience of winning a trophy. Probably one of the most experienced, well, some of the most experienced players coming in as the twins from Procedure, able to play here yet again. Obviously, beating out their old team BTR, not making it through, which we actually was honestly quite a surprise. I feel like this team has a lot of presence, has a lot of experience, but can they step up when we get into our matches, which we're going to do exactly right now. It's time to head into our first match of the day. It's going to be Sandhawk. It's going to be brought to you by none other than John Allen and Blake.
The grand finals starts now, Blank. We are getting into our first Sandhawk of the tournament. It is incredible to be here in Istanbul. We've had a hell of a time getting ready for it. Hopefully you're ready for it as well. We're going to start off with Sandhawk.
Dude, I'm very ready for it. Look, this is going to be the best PMGC we've ever had. I say this every time. It's correct every time. I never lie at the end of the day. But yeah, getting straight into this one, we've got 16 teams from around the world who are all absolutely flabbergastingly good. S2G, obviously, they have the crowd buff, right? The crowd buff is here for S2G. The question is that going to be a debuff or a buff? Is it going to put too much pressure on them? Are they going to falter under that? Because this year hasn't been too amazing for them, let's be honest. Coming off of the high heights of PMGC last year to this, it's not ideal, but on the other hand of things, everyone cheering for you in your country, that can take you a very, very long way. But again, a lot of teams here, John, that we're all expecting to do very, very well.
Yeah, we're looking kind of at a similar set of teams. I think a lot of us have predicted the top spot coming out sort of somewhat similarly. I think Stalwart's obviously on everyone's minds. I put
Alpha 7 on the top, because I feel like a Brazilian team, you know, it's just about time for this incredible development from the region to be shown right at the top, lifting the trophy. And I think this is maybe the season to do it.
Yeah, maybe. I think for Brazil, there's been some massive standouts. You know, even Influence Rage didn't actually make it all the way here to PMGC. They were fantastically good over in their survival stage. You've also got players like teams like obviously Loops as well as Alpha 7, two really strong teams themselves. Loops really proved themselves to be a fantastic and phenomenal team, actually beating out versus Alpha 7 at the end of the day, which was insane to see. But Alpha 7 had a very long run to make in their group stage to get where they wanted to be versus Reject, and they overtook them in the end, as well as Stalwart as well. So this is kind of a big deal looking at both those teams, both Brazilian teams making it in together. Nice little bit of camaraderie there as well, you know, making room for each other at the top. But there's going to be no room for each other at the top here. You're going to be wanting to take home that first place prize and the pride of having that PMGC trophy under your belt. So I'm very curious to see exactly how this is going to pan out. Obviously, we're just waiting to get into game right now, guys. I'm sure we will be in shortly. You know, I want to watch the matches. I want to see Sandhawk. Obviously, my favorite map.
Yeah, of course. It is well known that that is your favorite map. We've covered this many times, but it is, as you say, going to be a really, really hard-fought battle. No quarter to be given, and I'm looking at Major Pride to try and keep up the pace that they were able to achieve in the group stages as well, because they kind of had a little bit of a dip over in the European Championships, I think it's fair to say, and back in EU as well. They have shown some stumbles here and there, but they have made it. They're a top group qualifier. They are right in the mix of it.
I think for Major Pride, there's like a lot on the line from here at PMGC. I think they're one of the few new European teams to get back into PMGC again, even after their little reshuffle of the roster, with Dino coming in as well, who has proven himself this year to be a phenomenal addition to the team. Nomi, though, on the other hand, incredible player. Overall is Nomi, so well performing in his group stages over in PMPL 2. The unfortunate thing for Major Pride, and this is what I can see things going two ways, is that they'll either crash and burn quite quickly, or they'll give themselves a chance. I don't know if it's going to be enough chance to get into that first place position, but there's certainly a world here where that can happen. For instance, there's teams like IHC who had a blaster of a run towards the end of their last chance qualifier, which was incredible to watch, John. You know, Alex has really stepped up his game on that team. And again, the Mongolian teams over at this tournament are very, very strong. You've got Stalwart, you've got 4V, you've also got your boys on IHC. It is really, really awesome to see Mongolia teams rise up this way.
And a lot of them are quite streaky. I think as you highlighted, IHC certainly getting that push in from the last chance. You've also seen that back in their group stage as well, to make sure that they have that spot. It was the final day, and that sprint capability in a 3-day format, Blank, is really, really important. They've shown it. Can they bring it to the stage here in Turkey?
Yeah, it's even worse when you get to the last chance. You've got 2 days to make it happen, right? IHC make it happen there. Very, very difficult. Stalwart, on the other hand, another team that everyone's talking about. Max wanted to talk about them. He decided he won. He's already ranted about this team. More than enough. However, for Stalwart, this is another team that has issues in terms of, the way I see it, is that they're a team that either plays the best PUBG Mobile you will ever see in-game, or they just do nothing. And the problem with that is that in between is not good enough. Now, there is players supporting them now in that squad. You know, obviously, Icy has become this amazing off-angler for the squad who's able to hold down the fort, so it gives, obviously, Action and Top a little bit more room to breathe. They don't have to carry every single match, and they can actually play that duo a little bit more nicely. But yeah, I do have worries for Stalwart because, again, we say every year this team is going to do well. It comes to PMGC, and it doesn't happen. I would love to be proven wrong in that aspect, though, because I think all we've done is root for this team for the past 3 years, because they keep showing us that they've got the stuff.
If they go on much longer, they'll go the way of Gladiators, Blank. You know, we love to talk about them. We have to bring them up at least once. It's contractual at this stage, but we are. But yeah, absolutely. Stalwart, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Not quite able to go the full distance. Hopefully, they'll have their Hercules story here in Istanbul as we get locked and loaded for Sandhawk.
Yeah, just waiting to get into that playing path now. The final thing to be done to get into that playing path, get into our first match of the day here for PMGC here in Istanbul. Live brought to you. Happy to see it. Love to be here. Ready to rear in to watch some of these players bring the thunder in the matches. S2G brought the trophy. Will they take it back with them? Only 58 seconds will tell.
Sila's able to carry that trophy in. I've lifted that thing before last year. It is heavy. The guy's got the trophy to carry. Hopefully he can carry through the rest of his team as well as the hometown heroes, as Barney rightly said in his intro for this roster. We've got some Brazilians on the screen as well, and they'll be looking to bring it to battle, I'm sure, in the first match. Sandhawk, typically very, very fast, a little bit more confrontational of a style of map. Some difficult crossings, and really the main feature is that trifecta in terms of dictating a lot of the pace of the early game and where those early circles fall.
Yeah, I think a lot of times you either get the worst circles on Sandhawk ever, or you're given some decent ones that you can actually play around with. We have seen quite a few of those trifecta circles. In fact, in the Pmgc group stage as well, going into the survival stage and last chance, we didn't see a lot of it. We saw more like on the south side and the northern side, and even a lot of northwest island finishes, which was honestly very cool to see. Though, maybe that luck's run out for these players now as we head into Sandhawk. Maybe we're getting that trifecta split every single time, but here we are in the plane.
That plane looks good in the Turkish colours. Look at that. We are going on over the island from the northwest side down towards Kampong Blanc. As again, Sandhawk is small enough, plane paths, unless they are super dramatic, really don't play too much into it in the same way that they do on certainly a map like Miramar and Erangel as well. FaZe look like they're dropping for that northwest island. They'll be taking that split.
Already getting straight into it. Like you said, FaZe on the northwest side. Not really anyone around this location that's really bothering them on this one. You've got Pmgc Evos heading down for trifecta split itself. Seems like this position of the side of the map is fairly comfortable for a lot of these squads right now, John. Alpha 7 down towards that southeast side, taking a double split. Nice little bit of greed happening early on, but we do have S2G in themselves. A hot drop.
We're going to be treated today. It looks like S2G starting to get a little bit more of an edge on the damage, but they've taken a knock. One has fallen down, unfortunately, right at the start, but Razy holding forwards with that S12K, the DPS in hand. They're going to back off their opponents now. Xavier having to fall away now. There's a lot of damage has been done. S2G looking to get this res. They want to try and enact it. Molotov to try and keep them in this one over in Paradise Resort, with the circle heading up towards the north as well. Blank could be a little bit more trouble, but over here we've got Loops as 4MV take them on, and immediately Baron rings out for one. They've taken a knock in response, but the flush isn't there in the trade over onto Baron from Mythic. Excellent, and the flush to come through. So a 1-for-1 so far, and Loops have already got a knock on the backlines.
Yeah, for Miracle Vibes down this side, it's important to win out this fight, and we do get one from Doc with the S12K. We'll take down Isla. That guy was on fire during the group stage, and losing him out is not ideal. But it's two players here, Apex as well as Doc. East is currently down for 4MV. Get him back up on his feet, but you can't imagine that Mythic and Cardozin's going to do too much in this situation. QBZ and a Thompson, not ideal for close range, but for at least cleaning up East here, there's a possibility. But what a shot from the top side. It's Doc to take down Mythic.
With Cardozan as well on the opposite side of the river, there's very little chance that he gets across here against this roster, but look who's in the wings now. Pmgc Evos, they've moved up from that trifecta position. They've heard this engagement in Painan, and it's time for a third party from the hills.
It's a nice split here coming through from Pmgc Evos, instantly hearing that gunfire. I mean, they're not horribly surrounded in this location. Stalwart is pretty easy breezy over in boot camp for quite some time. So for Pmgc Evos, just stick their heads in. Notice that there's a fight that's ongoing, not quite fully cleaned out yet. You can see here they currently have the 4-man split right now, so they've got a lot of eyes on this one. And potentially 4MV's got a little bit careful in this situation, not opening up those sightlines to Pmgc too early.
Mythic very soon to go down fully here, but East actually steps back. I mean, to be fair, you could just wait out that timer. If Pmgc Evos don't have angles, it might be a little bit tricky. Both sides of the river now covered off by Pmgc Evos. In the meantime, over from Cow, it looks like Nongshim Red Force have moved down south to guard out the north edge of Paradise Resort. You can see S2G still holding strong. They did manage to get all 4 of their players back and alive, so they'll be okay for now, but Xavier looking to try and make their way out are going to struggle with Nongshim moving all the way down.
Xavier right now, I think things are okay. S2G are also able to get all players back up, but this was that initial engagement we saw early on. I mean, the Turkish squad here and the Vietnamese massive on this side, looking to hopefully hold out S2G. Probably get a singular knock, that's about it. Chua, I don't know how many nades he had there, but this guy was absolutely killer with them during the group stage. But Kalsi pulls the pin on one, opts back out of it.
He's only got the one in the pocket. Doesn't want to waste it without some sort of guaranteed return, whether it's information, whether he spots a play, sees two breaking wide. Xavier still holding on this northwest building on Paradise Resort. You saw before as well, Nongshim Red Force in the background. Unlikely that there's much movement happening in that area for now because it's slap bang in the middle of the circle, so we'll have to come back to that one. Pmgc EVOS, they have been snaking around, and Major Pride might just be bitten. Hopefully they got that anti-venom ready effect. Close to danger, perhaps closer than he knows, but Zuxi has the crossfire with Misery across the way.
Yeah, Misery honestly has been fairly effective on this squad so far. More effective than I maybe thought he would be. That's Revo taking down one of Titans players, and Shadow will get flushed out. For Alpha 7, it's all about that first day for this team. If they're able to start things off strong, that's where they start biking it on down towards that trophy. They just gain momentum and cadence. These matches head out. Major Pride sends away Misery. Maybe looking to take shots as they leave on the back player in the vehicle. That would be effect, but successfully make it down here. Over towards Trifecta. And Procedure EVOS has essentially allowed this team to leapfrog.
I'm not sure if they scouted the move out from Pmgc EVOS or if they knew that was going to happen, but getting up to that left side, that west bank of the Trifecta, that east bank now, as Lamborghini steps up for a shot, spray down to east. 4MV as well, continuing their engagement with loops across the way. A trade, and it is going to be 4MV moving on in and taking down the majority of loops. Mythic is there, but there's the spray.
Just a replay, unfortunately. Checking out what happened earlier in those games with Lamborghini being able to hit those shots over towards S2G. It was interesting that Lamborghini wasn't able to actually take him down there. Would have fought on the roof side. That was an easy flush, but I imagine the Lamborghini thought better of it. Likely less ideally gets knocked on the actual balcony than it is for Kalsi to get knocked on the rooftops because he drops straight back down again outside of line of sight. So Kalsi gets away with it, but by the skin of his teeth there. S2G happy to hold on to a few of their players. Going forward, it's IHC on your screens here, all the way on the eastern side of things. You got Udo Alliance towards their north as well. That's up towards the east side of Tap Mock. So could run into each other shortly, but this position, this area of the map, fairly cut between.
At the moment, there is just this traffic jam around Painan, though, that has been held down by 4MV, trying to keep that north edge of it clear. You've got Morph now starting to move in from this southwest edge, putting pressure on, and Pmgc EVOS regrouping together at the moment under the purview of Major Pride, who have leapfrogged and put a foot into boot camp as well, so they can get a little bit further north along that coastline that FaZe actually might try and push across from this northwest island position that they dropped on the split. Wasn't really that contested at all.
No, not at all. I think right now a lot of teams get a little bit lucky, let's say. In terms of how they've been able to angle themselves around. Circle heads over towards S2G. Don't really have to do too much. We've got to remember Xavier still here. Not by any means a weak team. And they're just going to be gathering that util. Sort of known for their nades as well, so clearing out those positions that S2G might be held in could be bad, but here comes Nongshim Red Force, takes down one at least, and that's Levi's knocked.
Ooh. He's brutal with it. Straight through the door, the DBS breach. Now, can Xavier piece anything back together? Because Traz got one of his own. He's spraying, he's chunking through, but he's not landing the damage. Sporter pushes with the Thompson in hand, still has to go for the swap. The QBZ is there, breaks right, breaks left. It's all over the place, and Xavier still not able to get any value. There has been a retribution elimination, though, and Sporter still jumping across, trying to find the final player from Xavier, but he's just a little bit too elusive.
S2G in the wings also hear this, and they'll be making their way on over. Could be able to clean up this engagement. It's Nongshim Red Force down to 3 players, 1 player knocked here. S2G decides not to get involved on this one. This could have been some 3 easy points coming their way off the back of it. I think this may have been a mistake. A little bit too cautious in a 3-day sprint, John. You've got to take these chances.
6-2-8, the third party Kings looking to move on in now from this northwest edge. moving from that bridge position over towards the west side currently. They have managed to push in a little bit closer, potential for them to try and crash on the compound, but they have turned around and thought a little bit better of it perhaps. S2G crawling ever closer though. And Nongshim Red Force, the Korean team, might struggle somewhat.
I mean, for S2G, properly preoccupied with that building. They've been watching it for a long, long while. Seeing if it'll move, but fortunately, does not move an inch. Players inside you got to worry about. Zuxi, though, has brought himself back to a little bit of fame here, but it's his brother Luxi who's been hitting the majority of shots. Now Zuxi at a Pmgc, he has been phenomenal before. Now he has to step up big for the rest of the team. Gets one knock, it's beautiful.
Misery's there, he's catching the flanks. 4MV don't know what's hit him. Zuxi with the DBS goes down, and he's out in the blue, but Misery's right there to put the final nail in the coffin, and 4 Miracle Vibes will go down. Pasija Evos carry on.
Really good stuff, and it's nice to see Zuxi perform, honestly, because it was Luxi putting in the majority of the heavy lifting during those group stages. However, we know Zuxi, he gets a little bit of that fire underneath him, a bit of that adrenaline flowing during the Pmgc itself. And it's nice to see that that same kind of treat's working out for him here. You're looking over to the map now, though. We've got 628 still hovering towards the northwest side, and Tapmock just trying to claim space. There's a lot of the northern side which is still open. Circle could still head up there as well. S2G staying very comfortable in Paris Resort, not attempting to get too much done. But it is stalwart on that south side. It'd be a hell of a push to get through Paris Resort in that area. We'll see exactly what they can get done.
WBG moving up the east coast right now, past Lakawi, up towards Camp Bravo, with Morph just behind them. Their traffic jam over near Painan had to go somewhere. That's where it spilled over towards. Morph have found the backlines here, and WBG, they lose Sue on the backline.
Sue going down is pretty bad news. This was the lad that, honestly, a lot of people had high, high hopes for on the squad of WBG.
And they are rolling up. Look at them. Morph squadding up in the car. This is, I mean, I always hate to see it. You know, I always hate to see 4 people in a vehicle, but Morph think better of cresting the ridgeline in such a fashion. They drop out a little bit early. They want to get this flush confirmed. It's just going to go down to the blue, though, and they can continue to push forwards. But they're starting to look a little bit unhealthy here with the amount of meds that they've got on board, the stims that they've got ticking. They'll be okay, but they have to get out of the blue soon.
Yeah, honestly, for Morph right now, it's not a huge deal for them, but coming in on that southeast side, you got Alpha 7 hanging around this area top, Titans as well. WBG send the rest of their force inwards, and obviously they'll have a read that there's a team behind them. And around this spot, you know, there's a lot of areas where you can gatekeep quite easily, quite well. So for WBG, already having that information early, heading down towards this ditch could be working out well for them. It depends how quickly Morph's able to send their way in. But a lot of the eyes right now is up towards Paris Resort and the compounds off towards the east side of it, where we have currently IHC in one of the most central positions, holding a fair few compounds to boot. You can see Loops here, Cardozen has spotted at least one of them, but they're on very minimal players right now. And by minimal, I mean 1.
That's probably, yeah, that is the minimum possible, I suppose, to still be in the running of it, but still give them a chance at a couple of placement points if they are lucky, if he plays his cards right, as you say, right in the middle, with a little bit of a chance here. Nongshim Red Force, they took the northwest position on Paradise Resort away from DX Xavier, but they lost a player in the process. Losing 1, playing as 3, they can stack up in this building, and they do have a decent chance of holding it off. But as soon as more than one team starts to rock up, as soon as both the west and east side of this position get threatened, it's going to be so much harder to hold on to as 3. You just need those sightlines.
You can sort of respect the play that S2G is going for, because essentially they've lined themselves up, understanding the circle's likely going to move away from Parasol eventually on the rocky edges, right? Where a lot of teams are going to have to get through. It's much easier for them to hold out in that position than it is for teams to push through there, especially with the fact that with having FaZe in this location on that northwest side, they're coming in from the back of the blue. You've already got 628 in, Stalwart, as well as Nongshim Red Force. These teams are all going to have to take shots at each other as they move through, and S2G perhaps hoping to clean up the rest of the pieces at the end of this one. Right now, it is 628 looking to deal with FaZe, who have had that glorious run, as the desk said. from their final dying moments to bringing themselves back to life here, and they've only looked better and more rosy since then.
Resurrection in the making. Hopefully the first nade goes through and 628 lose a player. Now FaZe can start to move on forwards. There's a player up on high that they do need to be worried about. Need to take care. A hard shift down to the southwest, so it gives them a little bit more circle time. Oh, nearly going down. 33Z runs away, turns tail, but it's not in time. He will go down. Can there be a trade? But Ventores is ready and waiting. Sees that they're putting these players on the deck time and time again, and ST and Stalwart are going to rock up to the southwest point of the Paradise Resort. 628 get crunched in the middle.
Nongshim Red Force, though, send out Sporter to the side, and right now I think FaZe is being a little bit careless with this one. Not really too worried, a bit lackadaisical. This was an amazing little rotation coming through from Sporter. Quick jump out to the edge, gives you full sight lines, great bit of cover to play around with as well, and FaZe could get ripped to pieces by this. It might be a 3v4, but this opening that Sporter's given them could be the death of FaZe here. They're currently moving over the top side right now, which keeps them a little bit safer. Unleashes a nade, a bit of a risky approach, but hits it just on target. Ventores gets blasted.
2 players go down from FaZe in the blink of an eye, and now Nongshim Red Force have even the numbers and done more as well. They've been able to take that numbers advantage now, 3 versus 2. And S2G are here to play. Silas moves up, but he's immediately rebuffed. Holding their ground now. Nongshim continue with 3. Mela breaks wide out in the blue. The nade not going long enough, and Sporter stays alive behind the crags. Tizzy on the off angle, looking to try and keep up the pace, but XZY up on the high ground has gone down for them, so they're playing on us too. Can they keep it up against FaZe?
For FaZe right now, Onzen's looking to get picked up, but more nades are flowing through over towards their position. You can see Major Pride here taking the engagement down with Procedure Evos on the south side. Sporter will take down the last player of FaZe and shut down by an incredible reposition from Sporter at the start of that one. Certainly playing some sport of his own with a shot put on that grenade directly on target. Though curiously, is Silas to get silenced over towards the south side of this engagement.
Does get picked up though and healed up nicely. Can they pick up these 2 points against Nongshim? Red Force, he is ready, he is waiting. Sporter with the DBS in close range against the UMP, steps up and Silas is ready. He takes the knock, takes the elimination, fades back with the rest of his team. Nongshim down to 1.
A lot of time spent on this one though, John. And S2G do need to start moving out. Stalwart with this. Circle look to be having a very good position on the side of the map. Nice shot from Kelsey though, will take down another, not before he gets refragged himself. Will drop off the side of the wall.
Udo Alliance putting pressure on from the eastern edge. S2G will have to leave this position. The blue zone will push them out from it. They want this res, but the nade goes a little bit long. It's up on the roof, and the res can come through now for S2G to keep them up as 4. Has just been enacted, but the blue zone takes him straight back down. Kelsey falls once more, and S2G are going to struggle to get this one back on through. In the meantime, WBG have gone down on the east side. IHC, Morph, Alpha 7 engaged in that conflict. But Udo Alliance still guard out S2G. A little bit of a struggle in their future.
A lot of engagements happening around the map at the moment. IHCU had a strong position for a long time. Need to move over towards that western side. Alpha 7 is just calmly breaching over towards the east. Only really Loops in a strong position right now, but they've only got 1 player. Cardozin sets himself up for success, but he got no teammates to make it happen. S2G here versus Stalwart. A big old fight here between these 2 teams. Currently, Stalwart sort of has the better positioning on this one, but S2G, 4 players, can they make it happen? That's the question here.
Ooh, first through the breach, and Hamzy on the high ground backs him off the corner. Unfortunately, takes a little bit too much damage to continue that position against Icy. Nerzed as well, waiting for this push to come through from S2G. The Stim's just ticking them back up, and top goes down. Silas has found the first shot and drawn first blood in the engagement. The duel rages on. IHC not quite close enough to engage because Udo Alliance are in the way. Silas continues to break forwards as Kelsey backs him up on the rooftop. Razy for the lower punch here. Nerzed right around the corner, biding his time, waiting on the door frame for anybody to step on through. It's dangerous, and Icy's there as well. Silas continues to move along the wall, and Razy steps in, and it's a 1-for-1. They keep it alive, but they find that they will lose Hamzy in the sidelines, and more start to fall as well. S2G keep it going, and Stalwart, a major contender, fall in the face of the hometown heroes.
Realistically, that's a difficult push coming through from S2G to get down towards that south side. Stalwart held all the cards in that situation. Yet still S2G pushes on through with the support of their backers here in Istanbul. Alpha 7 in the center. A dominant team here on Sandhawk.
Zuxi, in the meantime, by the way, call him Levi Ackerman. He's just taken down most of the Titans. He is on the south side, and he did go down in the end, but there's only one player now for Titan, and that's Major Pride to get a position now on the south side as they can move in and try and push towards Alpha 7.
Major Pride. This is one of their best maps. It's sort of odd for a European team to be very, very good at Sandhawk, but Major Pride is one of the few teams in Europe that actually can play Sandhawk very, very well and pick up some big numbers off the back of it. Very likely of them to actually go for a central position. But this time around, they're playing a little bit further towards the edge. A little bit scared about this one, potentially just trying to slowly make their way in. They understand as well as any other team within this lobby that honestly, the positions, the locations towards the center of this circle aren't really ideal. You're going to be playing edge for a long, long time. Tizzy still going though, trying to get further into this match. Going to be backstabbing over towards S2G. Has to hit another first aid kit though. Kelsey getting roughed up by Major Pride as Naomi opens up onto him.
Major Pride's attention drawn in that direction by the shots from Tizzy. They spot S2G, and two of their players fall almost immediately. Alpha 7 looking to stop the final player from Titan to go on through, and Tizzy is still there. Razy go down. Titan do finally fall completely, and Kelsey's down as well. Just Silas remains for S2G.
Gotta push further into this one. The placement points alone, very juicy towards the end here. Silas shimmying his way on the side. Good shots though. We'll take down one from Major Pride. That was instantaneous.
Naomi, first of all, Alpha 7 has spotted Major Pride on the hilltop as well, and Effect goes down. Silas is still going for S2G, and he is a force to be reckoned with, carrying that trophy forwards, and it is Effect to get flushed away. Mafioso trying to hold out IHC. In the meantime, two players remaining for IHC as they push in from the east, but they're not in the next zone. Cut across with the crossfire from Udo Alliance in the meantime, and Ziol tries to keep going for IHC. Effect to Nomi down, and Silas is still there. He just doesn't die.
Silas currently on a 1v3 angle right now, looking for the fourth at the moment. Revo desperately trying to remove the thorn in their side in IHC, but it's all eyes on Silas at the moment. Major Pride's run devastated by him on the south side as well, looking up the hill. Effect goes down to the play zone, and Silas still here.
Revo is here as well, and Dino will go down. Alpha 7 sweep on through. They took a knock towards Major Pride's position, and Silas was there to pick up the pieces, but now Alpha 7, a dominant force. The Brazilian team, well, one of the two Brazilian teams, but this is the time that they will stand up for the performance, and Revo gives another challenge to Silas, who just about squeaks on through, gets up there into third place with a cheeky little run for S2G, but it's Alpha 7 now all the way. Udo Alliance, last player to stand, and it will not be long for it. Alpha 7, clean house on Sandhawk.
Really, really good cleanup there from Alpha 7 at the end of it, taking themselves a chicken dinner. And I'm scared. I hear the boots are rumbling from this team. You start strong for Alpha 7, you start strong for Brazil, and the train don't stop. We'll have to see exactly what the future holds for them, but Revo, incredibly deadly with that DBS, still looks as incredibly strong with the DBS here now in the PMGC. It's a worrisome moment for a lot of teams in the lobby when they take the first game as cleanly as that, but again, I think a lot of the thoughts are going to be about Silas there. Almost 1v4ing versus Major Pride, that's a big deal, and also something that can sort of bring down your confidence if you are Major Pride.
I mean, he carried that trophy onto the stage. He carried that game for them as well, out of that Paradise Resort engagement. But to be fair, they took a straight-up head-to-head fight with Stalwart in the midst of it all. I mean, it's incredible because Stalwart are such a strong team in everybody's estimation, I think. So the fact that they're able to do that, brilliant. Revo, 5 eliminations for Alpha 7. As soon as they moved in from that southeast side, they just had so much pressure over that hill on the northwest.
Yeah, honestly, for Alpha 7, it wasn't the easiest of pushes for them because they were coming in through the middle. It was probably the best position to be on that side of the map, but you've also got Udo Alliance on your north, you've got Morph as well, as I think it was IHC next to them. So they had the battle through for quite a lot of teams, which is why you see them at 12 eliminations at the end of things, but that's what they're very good at. They're not afraid to take fights to some other squads, to take great positions within the circle. And that's the important thing. That's what you sort of need on your team. You can just see from the damage numbers alone, it's all extremely high. Every single one of these players is extremely talented, but if you have a team in the lobby that is happy and willing to take fights with some of the best teams in the world back to back to back to claim strong position in the circle, it's very hard to battle them back. And Alpha 7 starting things off strong is sort of bad news for a lot of these other squads. You want to sort of keep Alpha 7 down in those early games, so they need to reset on the tomorrow. But going forward, it's just going to be 5 more matches of Alpha 7 feeling it.
Goodness me, the t-shirt cannon's going off right in my ear behind me. Needs to be careful of that one. That startled me something awful. But that was absolutely an incredible game coming through from Soundhawk. Alpha 7 obviously taking that chicken dinner. Yudu Alliance surviving up into second place, coming on through. I mean, fantastic performance coming through.
Yep.
Nongshim Red Force as well, taking a cheeky little scrap in Paradise Resort, seemingly another well-performing team. I was a little bit disappointed in Major Pride, though. That Southwest position that they had, felt like they could have done a little bit more with it.
Yeah, I think that they got absolutely trounced by Silas, to be quite
true.
honest with you. I don't think you can really be too disappointed. They got absolutely destroyed. For Yudu Alliance, though, this is kind of an interesting one because I think that their MO during most of their games, even in the past, right, is just consistency at the end of the day. Getting a second place here bodes well for the Malaysian squad, and hopefully they can continue doing that.
Well, we certainly hope so. Let's take a look at some highlights. Head back over to the desk to see what they thought of that one.
Well, there's a lot honestly to say about that one. We'll start things off. Alpha 7, we always talk about every single event. They start so slow, and we said the same thing. They're slow starters, and they'll pick it up later on in the event. But 7, I have to go straight to you with this one.
Yep.
The amount of times we said, if Carrillo can play, and play well, then Alpha 7 can't be unstoppable. They can be this formidable force that really no team can take down, and we saw that happen finally in its very first match.
Yeah, before I even go into Carrillo and before we talk about what happened there at the end of the match, I feel like I have to give them some props too towards the beginning of the match because of how quick they were able to rotate into the circle. Yes, they were close to that circle, but it's how quickly they were able to do it. Usually this is a team that likes to play edge and likes to be very, very slow in their rotations. To see that quickness out of them, I'm really surprised. And now going back to what you were saying in regards to Carrillo, for him to be able to put up 4 eliminations with 521 damage, that's good to see too. And the other one too is Rebel. Rebel was able to put up 5 elims. So it might be a little bit too early, but I feel like I have to say it. Do Brazil! Getting that first win.
It's not fair. You weren't ready with your Alpha 7 jersey under your shirt today.
It's coming.
No cosplay this time.
Nah.
I mean, you were talking about the early game stage and Reva,
Yes.
how impactful he was. I loved especially how they played the southern side of Paradise Resort. They just waited for the fight to happen between WBG and also IT. During that fight, not that much attention is going to be thrown their direction. That's when they push downhill, that's when they cross the road, and that's when they take full control of that finishing circle. The timing from the early until the late stage was on point for Alpha 7, and the second place is not going to cut it this time.
And talking about timing, one of the fights that I actually thought that we're going to be engaging a little bit sooner between S2G and D Savior, whenever they were just waiting it out in Paradise Resort, I feel like D Savior ended up hurting themselves there because they were not aware. Something that S2G was able to do in contrary is that they were able to be very aware of who was pushing up to them, and one push that you were actually excited about on a team that was pulling up to Paradise Resort was Stalwart.
Yeah, Stalwart, I love the play that they were going for because the southern side of Paradise Resort is always going to be the better transition point. You got that hilltop, which is good to gatekeep teams leaving Paradise and also to take shots on the team not playing the really trashy terrain south of Paradise. But man, S2G, just looking at Silas in particular, what a push here onto Stalwart Esport. I was a bit like, I thought Stalwart were going to win that game, Jason, but
I mean,